Hey, this is Benjamin Nelson, your Season 7 WSSR Cup champion. I'd like to give a thanks to Roasted Gems Coffee, Trophy Smack, all the admins at WSSR, Snowy Desert Racing, everybody that tunes in to the Freaky Fast broadcast every week, including my family and friends, co-workers as well. And I am so honored to be able to hoist this beautiful trophy. I've never been more proud to be a champion.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Wednesday night coverage of Freaky Fast Broadcasting as we give you the racing of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, a brand new round in the playoffs. We just concluded last week of the round of 16. 5 drivers are now eliminated, and we are down to 11 to continue on with the chance to win the Season 8 championship. Tonight, the drivers try out a different test of skill. They go short track racing at the 0.88 mile course of Iowa Speedway. Short tracks have been tough for a lot of these competitors throughout the season. Tonight, though, they hope that it's going to be changed up for a better solution of some great racing. We're happy to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. My name is Sam Dyer. Joining me up in the booth is going to be Justin Malarkey. And Justin, I know at the end of last week where we were not able to give the end of that broadcast with some technical errors that popped up, but got to see Zach Hall winning at Phoenix, and then getting to see these drivers having a 3-way tie for the final spot of who was in or out between Nick Crawford, Aldi Fonseca, and John Forbes, and with Nick Crawford having the best finish of those 3 drivers throughout the playoffs so far at this moment. He was able to advance, but there was some crazy racing action at the end. Sadly, we weren't able to give you the coverage of the overtime attempt, but now we get to try out here at another short track at Iowa.
Another short track at Iowa, but going to Nick Crawford, like you said, it proves every point really matters. The best finish possible got him the tiebreaker, gets him into the next round, and he's a driver that still can keep advancing and get a chance to win that championship. But Iowa tonight, Sam, is going to be a slippery track. We're seeing the drivers getting ready to go out there and qualify right now. But it's going to be really slippery out there. No mistakes tonight. Can't afford to start the next round of the playoffs with a bad race.
150 laps, going to be a lot of great racing, but as we go down to trackside, qualifying begins. These drivers will have 5 minutes to put down their fastest time and 2 laps to do so. As these drivers, some have already completed qualifying. Chris Stitz in the 17 are pole sitter at the moment. It is a 22.854. That's the pole time at the moment, but there's some other fast drivers to watch out for as we keep our sights on the 53 of Christopher Wade, who will put down for his second lap. Going to be fast enough for second at the moment, but here's a driver that we know can be fast, and the past winner of this race going to be seeing the 28 machine of Brian Johnson, and Johnson coming into this round going to be second in points, hoping for some very good speed from the 28 machine. But there's another driver that they have to keep their eyes out on for. Benjamin Nelson top of the board, but Larry Yingling has been the driver that's gotten the pole every time they've ran here at Iowa. He won the inaugural race here back in season 3, also had the most laps led last time that they ran here back in season 6. The 6-7's the favorite to watch out for as Johnson crosses the line. Gonna be good enough to place himself in 8th, but Larry Yingling, fastest driver right now with the pole time.
Larry Yingling up there with that 22.773. You're seeing that little bit of gap there going back to 10th, about 0.3 of a second separating those top 10 drivers. We've seen Sam qualifying this year be a little bit closer than that, so that proves that this track might be a little bit of a challenge for some of these drivers. They're not all going to be up there maybe on top of one another. Might be getting some spread out racing here as the race goes on, especially with these tires that we're expecting to wear out. But right now, Brian McCann out there on his second lap, seeing if he's able to knock Larry Yingling off this pole.
Brian McCann hoping for a quick time, currently on his second lap. First lap was good enough to place the 8 machine in 9th place, and he's going to run that second groove. We're expecting a lot of drivers to run in that position. Slight wiggle, but keeps the nose pointed straight. McCann across the line, 11th, currently on the board, and after that second lap, he'll bounce himself back into the top 10, 8th place currently. Bryson Hicksonbaugh, the driver that got the pole last week at Phoenix, hoping to maybe be another stealer of one of our drivers that are not in the playoffs. And speaking about not being in the playoffs anymore, Douglas Newbigging, part of the 5 drivers that got eliminated at the end of last week's race. The 7 looks strong, but not enough points to move forward, and now he's just trying to be playing a little bit of spoiler for the rest of the season.
He definitely could be one of those ones to watch out tonight. That would be a spoiler. We've seen speed throughout this Douglas Newbigging machine all season. We get a chance to talk to him quite often when he finishes in the top 3. Seems like he's a driver that definitely could get it done tonight. But right now, still chasing to get that pole position. Let's see. Not able to do it, though. Going to be a 22.9. Not going to get the pole.
Not good enough for the pole, but good enough to place himself inside of the top 10, 8th on the board. Goes the 7. Cedric Hunter, first lap being started up with 49 seconds left on the clock. Might be only good enough for 1 lap time for the 13, so didn't time his qualifying laps perfectly here. But Cedric Hunter at least hoping to get inside of the top 15 if possible. Part of the group that's still running for a championship. 11 drivers made it to the second round of the playoffs, and Cedric Hunter crossing the line, going to be good enough for 16th, and he will, looks like, as long as he hits his marks, should cross the line with about 2 seconds left in qualifying.
It'd be really close, but like you said, he should get through it. Just got to get through these final 2 corners here. Try and get the grip. You see the car just wanting to get a little sideways there, a little wiggle, but still able to power down, coming out of the corner hard. Going to get to the line running a 23.0. Not going to be able to get the pole, unfortunately for Cedric Hunter, but we know he could have speed.
Definitely looking for speed, and with that, qualifying practice is done. These drivers will have 5 minutes to get some warm-up time in for themselves to see where their pit stall is going to be for the race and get any last practice that's necessary before they get to 150 laps of Iowa racing here tonight. And as we're getting prepared for tonight, let's take a look at the standings coming into tonight. Again, 5 drivers got eliminated from the playoffs, and those 5 drivers being Ollie Fonseca, John Forbes, as well as Larry Yingling, Brian Noel, and Douglas Newbigging. Probably the biggest surprise of them all, Larry Yingling, not going to be moving forward, and it's kind of a huge shock to see that the 67 no longer in the playoffs. But you can give even bigger shock, Cody Reed able to move on to the round of 11. The Cinderella story for the 52 continues on, but seeing that list of drivers that are still running, a lot of heavy contenders to watch out for that are ready to continue on their championship hopes for this second round of the playoffs.
11 of them will be really interesting to watch. All 11 will be looking to have a great finish tonight. You mentioned Larry Yingling, though, being up there on the pole tonight. That's really got a sting for him, knowing how much speed he brings to Iowa. One of the drivers that seems to always be on the pole here, does really well, gets the wins here, but not able to advance with tonight with the playoffs being the way they are. Unfortunately, that's going to really hurt him, even if he goes out there and dominates this race.
Again, trying to play spoiler. Like, one of our 11 drivers that are in blue find themselves into victory lane. They will be locked into the championship round, where only 6 drivers will be running in our championship round. Each round, 2 races to see who has the most points. And coming into this second round, like you saw there, it's Benjamin Nelson, the favorite to watch out for. As we take a look at our schedule, it's coming to a close here quickly. Tonight is Iowa. Next week, finishing off the round of 11, we have the drivers heading to Legacy, Kentucky to finish out this round. But these 2 races for this round here, Justin, it certainly is going to be fun to watch just because of how different Iowa and Legacy, Kentucky run compared to what we're going to be seeing in that championship round of our cookie cutter mile-and-a-half tracks.
Iowa, Legacy, Kentucky, definitely 2 different types of tracks, 2 different layouts. Iowa, very slippery tonight. These drivers will be fighting for grip, but going to Charlotte and Kansas for those final 2 races, that's going to be a little more of a traditional 1.5 mile cookie cutter like you mentioned. Going to be something where probably what we see at Charlotte might be what we see carry over to Kansas, some similar type racing, but Iowa and Kentucky, 2 different tracks. That's going to be really challenging for this next round of these drivers to make it into the final 6.
As these drivers get themselves prepared for the rest of this season, Crazy to think that we have, counting tonight, 4 more races before the season is over and done with, and we'll have a Season 8 champion with us. Crazy to look around as we got 2 minutes left in warm-up. Gives us time to say thank you to our amazing sponsor that helps out here for the WSSR, that being Trophy Smack. Trophy Smack, are you ready to take your victory or show your loss? Go to TrophySmack.com and check out their wide range of custom and pre-made trophies, belts, rings, and more. If you're looking for already pre-made trophies, you can find them on TrophySmack.com, or you can even customize it. And that's exactly what the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series has done for the last couple of seasons. Initially, when we've partnered up with Trophy Smack, it was custom championship rings that Vincent Sora grabbed for himself. But recently, it's been a trophy. Benjamin Nelson has taken the first custom trophy, and who will grab the second custom trophy from Trophy Smack? We'll have to find out here in 3 weeks. But if you'd like to get your own trophy from Trophy Smack, remember, while purchasing, use the promo code WSSRSMACK for 10% off. Thank you to Trophy Smack for being with us. Tonight's race, again, going to be 150 laps, no comp yellow, no fast repairs. They'll have 5 sets of tires in pit road. Fuel window, looking to be that this race could turn into a one-stop if we can stay clean and green. But Justin, you look at the past, they've only ran here twice in the past 7 seasons. That was Season 3 and Season 6. Season 3, they only had 3 cautions, but the most recent race, Season 6, 11 cautions. And the way short tracks have been running this season, that higher number looks to be a little bit more likely with the amount of drivers that showed up and just the way this car and track combo has been looking like.
It could be one of those nights where we might be seeing a lot of yellows, and that would be something that could really switch up these points. It's going to be really important for drivers to stay out of trouble, but if we do have all those cautions, restarts, you almost can't help it, Sam. Unfortunately, you're going to have to do multiple restarts. The field gets bunched up, and sometimes you just get caught up in some kind of accident that you weren't planning on being around.
Yeah, you're trying to keep yourself, your nose, out of trouble as much as possible, but for these drivers, they know tonight could be a crucial night that could set you up for a perfect run at Legacy, Kentucky next week, or put you in a hole where you're in a must win. But these drivers have just finished up their warm-ups. Qualifying's over, practice is over. It's the only thing that's left is racing for 150 laps. As the drivers start to grid up, we get ourselves prepared for tonight's event. Thank you so much to everyone that is joining with us here on your Wednesday night. You could be doing a lot of other things, but we love the fact that you're able to join with us on Freaky Fast Broadcasting as we take a look at our starting grid for tonight's Iowa 150. Larry Yingling in the 67 going to be taking the pole. Second place in that front row will be Benjamin Nelson in the 79. Zach Hull going to be starting in third with Anthony Gaudio in fourth. Fifth, we find the 3 machine of Ryan Kelly. Chris Stitz in sixth in the 17. Seventh is the 11 of John Forbes. Douglas Newbigging starting in eighth. Ninth is Christopher Wade with one of his better qualifying runs so far this season. And finishing out our top 10, we find the 8 machine of Brian McCann.
Rolling up in P11 is going to be Shane Therian, and P12 going to be Ken Campbell. 13th going to be Brian P. Johnson, and Bryson Hicksonbaugh alongside him 14th. 15th going to be Cameron Sarton, and 16th going to be Cedric Hunter. 17th and 18th going to be Brad Delph and Christopher Norris. Rolling off on P19 and P20 is going to be Nick Crawford and Brian Noel, and then Ollie Fonseca in 21st, James Coffin in 22nd, Joshua Corner in 23rd, Cody Reed in 24th, who's going to look to be getting all those points he can coming from 24th.
A lot of work starting that far back for Cody Reed as drivers are set and ready to get themselves prepared for this race here at Iowa. 150 laps, but you know, Justin, you brought up the fact that tires, they're going to be slipping and sliding. Curious on if these drivers are actually going to be trying to aim immediately for the start of going for the, turning this race into a one-stop, maybe changing it up, going for a 2-stop run here this evening. With this race only being 150 laps, it really leaves this race completely wide open on what they're looking for.
It really does. This race, if it does stay somewhat green, like you said, it could be over in a hurry. So a driver like Cody Reed starting in the back, he's really got to make sure he's able to get up there and get those spots. But if you do get cautions for a driver starting in the back, do you start taking those tires early, Sam, using those sets up, knowing that there's not that many laps if this race does stay green? You get out there, get that fresh rubber, try and gain all the track you can, track position you can. It's going to be really interesting, but right now it's going to be really fun, I think, on with these drivers on the first 2 row, Larry Hingley and Benjamin Nelson. It's going to be really interesting watching these 2 get this restart here.
Big drivers in the back to watch out for. 16th place runner of Cedric Hunter, Christopher Norris back in 18th, and Nick Crawford in 19th, as well as Cody Reed starting all the way back in last. Those are your drivers that are inside of the top 11 in the playoffs, but are very far back, have a lot of work to move forward. But up front, Larry Yingling, Benjamin Nelson, who will find themselves leading lap 1, and how will this field be able to tackle the start of this race? Let's find out as the Iowa 150 is underway, as a start of round of 11 is now begun. Down into turn number 1, Larry Yingling with a great launch on the inside, but Benjamin Nelson wants to tackle and get back on the throttle. We're going to be seeing how well can they tackle for themselves off the exit of the corner. Also update, Douglas Newbigin will be starting in pit road, but up front, it's already Nelson trying to take the front pack as everyone else 2-3 wide, but the 79 will lead lap 1.
79 gets that first lap, gets out there and gets that point. Larry Yingling, our Pulsar, are going to slide in behind him on second place, but it looks like he's going to maybe try and make a move to the outside. But look at these drivers back here. They're still 2x2. But one thing you see, Sam, in this corner, multiple grooves. They fan out. They're running up high, running down low. You're going to see drivers all over this track, which is going to make it really fun for us up here in the booth to call this race.
It certainly is. Searching for where they're going to feel the most comfortable as Brian McCann, Chris Stitz going to be side by side with one another, trying to see who's going to be taking this 7th place position. Right now, McCann feeling comfortable on the outside and will be able to slot himself in front of the 17. And Brian McCann, one of our bigger movers so far, already up 3 positions from where he started here tonight, and trying to grab another spot that looks to be seeing the 8 machine willing to grab these spots immediately for himself.
Willing to grab those spots, and he's doing it up high in that 3rd and 4th corner. He seems like he's running right up in the middle where some of these drivers seem to have migrated down to the bottom. You see right here, he's going to go up in maybe that 3rd and a half to 4th lane up there. He's going to try and get alongside Zach Hall coming out of the corner. He's going to do it. Gets so close to that wall, but able to stay off it, power down. He's going to get another spot here going off into turn 1.
Able to keep that nose ahead for now, as seen Brian McCann willing to use his grip at the current moment. But is it worth it? 5 laps in, already up 4 positions. Other drivers that are trying to move up quickly deeper in the field is Brian Noel in the 77. He's back in 15. There's a gaggle of cars back there of playoff drivers trying to move their way forward. Cedric Hunter, Nick Crawford, Christopher Norris, Cody Reed, those are the drivers I just noted on a watch out. They're going to try to move forward as quickly as possible. They were all just running the outside, trying to power their way through past the 77, who is one of our bigger movers right now.
It seems like this outside line, seems like these drivers are able to just get going a little bit better than those guys on the inside. There's just not much grip out there. The outside line, a little bit less turning radius. Right now, these guys are making it work on the outside, but will they pay the price longer in this run, especially if we stay green? Will we see some fall off from abusing the tires by potentially running a little bit harder up there? It's something we're definitely going to keep an eye on. But I want to talk about Zach Hall. He's back to 9th position. We know he's a driver that saves tires. He had a great qualifying run starting up there in the 3rd, but he chose to maybe take it easy in the beginning here as he falls back to 10th now. One driver we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on.
Trying to find his way forward. Winner from last week. Sadly, we weren't able to give the end of that broadcast, but the 32 was elated on the fact that he was able to get into victory lane and finally say that he's a winner in the WSSR this season, and doing it in the playoffs was such a power move for himself, and the strategies worked out with the timing of the yellows here tonight. Talked about it, Justin, during qualifying of if this field could get spread out. A long green flag run was looking very promising, and up front we're starting to see a lot more spacing. Still deeper in the field, there's a little bit more packed up action going on around 13th on back, but at this moment, if we continue to race like this field, I think they're liking what they're seeing so far, 9 laps into this race.
I think that definitely has to calm the drivers' nerves, knowing that we're starting to see a little bit of spread out. Like you mentioned, there are some cars still close together. Right here, we got the 63-52 battling hard. But if it does get spread out pretty quick like we were expecting, that could lead into a long green flag run, and then you're going to have to go into strategy about when do you pit, when do you get the tires. But right now, being lap 10, we're still a little bit early here. We've got a nice battle here, 2x2 with these cars, all trying to gain position. One of those drivers being Cody Reed, who needs every point he can tonight.
Cody Reed able to make the playoffs, hoping that a Cinderella story will continue on in this playoff run, as Bryson Hicksonbaum will stay on the bottom, 63. This is kind of a abnormal start to see from Bryson. We've seen him be so dominant up front almost every racetrack we've gone to since he joined in the middle of the season. And at this current time, the 63 machine is just in a looks like a waiting mode, not really trying to push any speed at this moment in time, and willing to just wait it out, as these drivers currently about a half a second off of their fastest time they put down currently for the whole entire field, just being 13 laps in. A tire drop off immediately being shown so far is in the wall. Looks to be Cody Reed or the 77, as there were some very aggressive bumps in that puff of smoke, as Noel and Cody Reed were the two drivers close to that outside wall, but they look to still be powering forward even with that puff of smoke that happened.
Puff of smoke coming out of those cars. Definitely someone got up into the wall, but like you mentioned, not too much damage, so hopefully they're able to get their race going, no problem. Did want to make note that it looked like Larry England was able to get by Benjamin Nelson. I think Nelson got that first lap led, but I think England was able to get back by him. But right now, 6 car looking to get under the 24, not able to do it coming out of the corner. He's going to go lower though. This is what we're seeing. Drivers run the bottom, drivers different entry coming in. 24 is going to bring it back to the bottom, trying now to get around to 99, but not able to carry that momentum down the front straightaway. Sam coming out of that turn very hard. As you see him now get up into the wall.
Getting into that outside wall. Again, these straightaways are not completely straight. There's that slight bend, and the outside wall can kind of sneak up on you if you're not careful. As Cameron's starting on the 99, it's a little wobbly off the exit of the corner, but Ollie Fonseca trying to power his way forward on the outside and able to get to the outside quarter panel. They'll drag race their way through the front stretch, and again, careful of that outside wall. Ollie's a little bit more conservative as he drops down to that second groove. The 24 of Ollie Fonseca, I mean, it's going to be heartbreaking for himself and the 11 of John Forbes, both missing out on moving forward in the playoffs, being eliminated after last week's race. And for Ollie Fonseca, it's been documented multiple times usually it's been on Monday night in the ISRC Truck Series, of being tied with drivers and missing out on advancing in the playoffs, and it happening again in a different league. It's got to be heartbreaking for this 24, and tonight hoping to be a little bit of a tone center for the rest of the season of, hey, maybe we didn't get into the playoffs and move as far as we wanted to, but now we're going to show out and prove, hey, we're a driver still to watch out for with when next season rolls around. As we move up to 10th place, here's a great battle. Christopher Wade, Shane Terrian going to be battling with one another.
9 car is going to have the inside here. The 53, he's going to have that outside line if he's able to stay alongside the 9, but not able to do it. Shane Terrian is going to slide up here in front, but right there, Sam, that's so hard to do coming out of that corner, trying to pinch that car and keep it down from not spinning out on you. As you see now, the 9 is actually going to get really high going into that corner, but able to keep the car back under him. Not sure if we'll see guys running that high up in turns 1 and 2. In 3 and 4, I'm expecting definitely to see it, but that was really interesting as he's going to go really high now in 3 and 4. Definitely trying the outside line here.
There's been a couple of drivers willing to work that third lane on both sides of the racetrack. Well, another driver that has been working that outside groove with Shane Terrian. You're seeing Christopher Wade attempting his chance up there, but drivers that are inside of our top 5, Anthony Gaudio, as well as Brian Kelly, seeing John Forbes, a lot of the front runners really searching higher in the grooves. Our front 2 drivers continue to run that bottom to the yellow line, sometimes that second groove for themselves, but everyone else behind our front 2, they're searching for that extra speed on top, up top.
And whoever finds that extra speed is going to be one moving to the front. And right now, it looks like this might be the 29 and the 3 machines. They're really starting to move forward. But as I say that, John Forbes also, he looks like he's starting to get into this picture. As now, we're starting to see the top 6 drivers all be in the same picture. We talked about it spreading out, Sam. It looks like it's doing the opposite. It looks like these 6 all want to stay right on top of one another.
Well, the tire wear has dropped off pretty dramatically. These drivers around a second off of what their fastest lap time was, and could be a factor of our front 2. Maybe they pulled away a little bit quicker than some expected. As we take a look at the weather, this is perfect conditions for the field to really protect their tire wear, as the air temperature being 71 degrees Fahrenheit, track temp just under 80 at 79 degrees. That wind slightly fluctuating from 5 up to 10. We'll see if it hits that 10 marker at any moment here tonight. The wind direction is staying stable, so these drivers have a consistency on that at least to know how their vehicles should fluctuate if the wind ever ramps up. But up front, top 6 drivers all within a second of one another. And now Benjamin Nelson recognizing, okay, these guys are catching up. Let's try the outside lane a little bit more.
As you say that, the 3 car is going to dive to the inside of Anthony Gaudio here. Use the inside line. You get a great view of our battle for the lead up front. As you see, the 67 is going to still stay to the outside of Benjamin Nelson. Maybe get that lap led, but Nelson fighting hard on the inside as now we're on board with Anthony Gaudio. He's going to run way up there, like you said. Look at this, turns 1 and 2. Driver running way up in the 3rd lane, getting that power down. You're going to see the momentum that he's able to gain coming down the straightaway. Anthony Gaudio trying to get to the lead, but the rest of these drivers are all trying to get back up there too, Sam. We're going to have a great battle here between all these 5-6 cars up front.
Top 6 drivers, you can put a blanket over them with how close they are. It is a close racing action that we're seeing right now, and all of them searching for speed. Some have moved up 1 group, others have been running the top. Some have moved up even 3 groups from where they were running just 3 laps ago. And now it is complete search and run as quickly as you can. And John Forbes is the one driver that's really advancing forward at this current moment as he's trying to pressure Anthony Gaudio for 3rd place. This is the first time Gaudio's had anyone really pressuring the 29 so far tonight, as he's been trying to slowly march back to the battle for the lead.
11 trying to get under the 29. I feel like it was about 2 laps ago we thought the 3 car was trying to get underneath the 29 when we were on board, and now look at that, the 3 has dropped back to 6. So we're seeing that these drivers are able to definitely pass it. This track is putting on great racing with these multiple grooves as Ryan Kelly looks to fade back a little bit here. Maybe just got down there, heated his tires up a spec. He's gonna have to cool them down, regroup, because we seem like we might have a long run here as we're now 30 laps into this race.
Seeing John Forbes focusing as much as he can on where to place his vehicle, as he's looking to see if anyone's going to drop to his inside, but instead will follow in line with Anthony Gaudio. But you see those hands, a lot of counter steering off the exit of the corner. They are keeping their foot in the throttle, but they recognize, hey, at any moment this thing could snap away if you're not careful.
Any moment, as you see right there, he really had to turn back to the right. Car started getting a little sideways coming out of the corner, just rubbing on these tires so much. As you see Benjamin Nelson really riding the wall up there. Seems like these drivers now have really started to migrate up the track, not seeing too many guys run the bottom like we were seeing earlier. As I say that though, we're going to look like Benjamin Nelson going to drop it down to the bottom and try and get around the 67, but it's going to be a constant battle tonight. Where do you find that grip? Trying every lap somewhere different, Sam. But one thing, the sun starting to go down. It's going to cool this track maybe a little bit. Maybe these drivers will be able to find some more grip.
Maybe a degree or 2 as we're 30 laps in the books here at Iowa. And it's still the true battle for the lead. It's Larry Yingling and Benjamin Nelson. But Anthony Gaudio, 29, that was probably his best race so far this season, keeping himself up front. We're seeing a couple of drivers probably having one of their best runs so far this season. Ken Campbell, another one of those that's surprisingly running well here tonight, as he's back in 8th place and one of the faster drivers on track. Actually, is the 15, as he's trying to catch up slowly to this front pack, as well as he's trying to attach to the rear end of the 28 of Brian P. Johnson. And Johnson also starting to close in to Ryan Kelly, who's really fallen off after that one attempt to go for 3rd. It's just been a complete drop-off for the 3.
Just a complete drop-off. It was really weird how that happened. Maybe he felt something. Maybe he thought, you know what, it's still a little bit early in this race, early in this run. If they want to get to lap 75 to do a one-stop, like you mentioned at the top of the show here, he's going to have to make sure he gets those tires to last to lap 75, so maybe a little bit of strategy in that 3 car's mind. But another driver, in addition to Ken Campbell, that you mentioned, that's starting to slowly gain back track position. Zach Hall, he was dropped back to 11th, started 3rd, dropped back to 11th. He was 4.3 seconds behind. Now he's down to 3.6 as he's looking to battle to get, he is inside the top 10. He's looking to now get to 9th, but he's got it down to 3.6 seconds. So still, if these drivers got to go another 35 laps, Sam, it could be really interesting on who played it right by saving early.
Is your race analysis again tonight? 150 laps. These drivers have a total of 6 sets. 5 sets of tires that are going to be in pit road. They start the race off with one of those 6. And then their pit window, 73 to 75 laps. We're expecting some of these drivers to aim for the 1-stop, but who might risk it to go for a 3-stop strategy? If they're going aiming for a 3-stop strategy, they're going to be thinking about pit road around lap 50, maybe even 40. Trying to go with a little bit of a slightly earlier stop, but the field continues to roar on. As take a look here at Cody Reed trying to make his way forward in the 52, pulling away from Christopher Wade. Cedric Hunter again was one of the lead drivers trying to go forward. He's kind of stalled out in 16th place, and right where he qualified is where he runs.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. You think you're going to make the positions up, and then before you know it, you're not able to. We've all been there, but he definitely can get it going. It's a long race still. Got to get up there, though, to get those points, and maybe those two pink cars will be in the front before you know it.
Here's taking a look at the drivers battling for 20th, 23rd, and 24th. As Douglas Newbiggie, who started on pit road, slowly starting to catch up to his competition. That's battling for the last place spot. James Kaufman and Joshua Corner. Corner trying to do his best to move forward, but they are just pedaling at this moment, about a half a track back from our leaders. So if we stay clean and green, by the time that we may be seeing pit stops, our leader might be catching up the lap traffic. But here's some other great battles that are going on course as we see the 74 of Nick Crawford. One of our biggest movers right now here tonight, up 8 spots, is the 74 in 11th place, as he's trying to figure out how to get by Shane Terrian in the 9 machine, as well as bring along Chris Stitz in the 17.
Got to get to the front. That's the goal for Nick Crawford tonight. Able to get into the next round via that tiebreaker. He's got to show everything he can, trying to get into the next final round to be one of our top 6 drivers, because he definitely can win at these mile-and-a-half tracks. Going back to Texas, he was able to get the job done there. So it could be a driver to watch out. But right now, up front, still no battle for the lead, no change up there. But Nick Crawford running in 11th after starting 19th. That's 8 positions gained. He's moving forward.
Moving forward and trying to continue on their way. It's Ken Campbell talking about how well he's been running here tonight. Qualified 12th up to 7th. And able to get by Brian P. Johnson, 15, one of the fastest drivers out on track, competing with the speed of our leader of Larry Yingling. And I got to give huge credits to that 15 machine. But then we move up slightly ahead of him. We find Anthony Gaudio. He's given up track position to the 11 of John Forbes. The 4th now is Anthony Gaudio, but it's 29 having his best race of the season. Currently right now, this has been impressive to see. I know Gaudio has been quick during practice sessions, and it's finally translated to race pace here tonight at Iowa.
He's up front, which is key for him, maybe able to survive any restarts if we do have them. Like you said, he's had great speed throughout the season. Practice, definitely always shown really strong speed in the practices. Just hasn't carried over into the exact race pace like we needed to, but he could get it done tonight. Running 4th, he was up to 3rd at one point. Right now he's on lap 43. He's still hanging right there within a second and a half of these leaders, showing that he has the long run speed. So he's just got to get that track position, and we might be talking to him later on when this race is over in victory lane.
That was Brian McCann trying to figure out where to place himself to get by the 29. We continue to stay clean and green, but if drivers are thinking about making that hard decision of maybe turning this race into a 2-stop, we're about to be entering that window. I'm curious, Justin, in this stage of the race, we're seeing a lot of our front runners. We have our top 9 all within 3 seconds of one another. That's where Zach Hall runs back in 9th. Do any of these drivers maybe think about changing their strategy up, or do they feel like maybe they're in a good spot to just continue pushing forward to turn this race into a 1-stop?
I think it'd be really interesting if someone does try it. I mean, to go from lap 50 to lap 75, 25 more laps on tires, with the way the track has slowed down and the pace has dropped off, you really could gain a lot of time by going in. And also lets you, Sam, drive really hard for those next 50 laps, knowing that you're going to be pitting again at lap 100. So maybe some guys would try it. I think the biggest risk is it being a small track and you going potentially 2 laps down. You're definitely going to go 1 lap down, but if you go 2 laps down, that might be really hard. You won't get the wave around. Yeah, but the way this race is going, I mean, I think maybe some of these drivers need to try it, because we're not really seeing that there might be cautions. The way they're kind of each giving each other room, they're spread out. If it does stay green, it could be something that I think if you're running in maybe 8th, 10th, 12th positions, maybe you try it, Sam.
Different risky calls. Who will think about setting it, especially with this being the first race of the round of 11? Those 11 drivers. Does anyone really want to throw away, kind of go with a Hail Mary just for the first race and not go for the gamble in race 2, as Ken Campbell has finally caught up. That 15 has been a hard charger, and now in a position to try to grab 3 more positions to slot himself into the 4th place spot. Brian McCann will throw it down onto the inside. And right now that 8 machine is looking quick, but yet to really find this momentum to solidify this pass just yet, as Anthony Gaudio stays high. That's where he's been running all night long. But Ken Campbell, he's found a groove, but all the drivers in front of him are running that same exact line. He's gonna have to find a different spot to go into.
He's going to have to, especially with 3 cars in front of him. But if he could get around these 3 cars in the next couple laps, he might have a chance to run down our top 2. Because he's fast. He's able to get through the corners and carry the speed, but so hard to pass here. Are you able to pass without abusing the tires and get to the front? It looks like the 3 car is going to pit. Looks like he's going to be our driver that's going to do the 50 and the 100 tonight on these pit stops.
Cody Reed pitted a lap prior. Now this lap, we're going to be seeing Shane Terry and Nick Crawford, Ryan Kelly into pit road to join the 52. We do have some takers for the 2-stop strategy. Waiting to hear over the radio if maybe any other drivers will think about making a stop of Benjamin Nelson. Was there a mistake? Did Nelson... I'm curious on what happened. He lost so much time. Did he miss pit road? He did. The 79 missed pit road, and that is a massive loss because he's back with drivers that were around 10th place when he entered pit road.
Yeah, he missed it, Sam. I think and he looks like he might have got into Zach Hall when he came back on the track. I think he went down the front straightaway right in front of the pit road, down on that little apron. That's very interesting. We're going to have to check that out, but he definitely lost a lot of time doing that, and Zach Hall definitely has damage on that left front fender.
Left front fender contact between the 32 and the 79. As Benjamin Nelson, we're going to be seeing here on the replay, just overshoots, goes too far, stays on the access road that allows him to just blast forward, but he's running so fast, he's going to miss the entry of the corner, just goes up the track, smashes into Zach Hall, and Hall, just an innocent victim, gets hit by Benjamin Nelson, and Nelson takes off and starts rolling, and then we'll enter pit road again, and Zach Hall is now going to have to deal with that damage of just a car missing pit road. And that's got to be a frustrating thing for a winner from last week, knowing that I just went from keeping my car out of trouble to now dealing with damage until we have to make that first pit stop where it looks like the 32 is aiming to stretch this race into a 1-stop.
I really hate that for Zach Hall because he was making up so much time. He had it down to 2.4 seconds. You see, now he's back to 3.8. That time he lost just from that hiccup and sliding up high. But how much will the damage hurt the handling of the car? That's something that's not going to be ideal for him. Hopefully he's able to get in there, maybe it's a couple seconds they can get it hammered out, but he can't sit in pit road too long and fix it, especially under these green conditions.
And more drivers that have entered pit road. It's been a pretty equal split up of drivers that have entered pit road and those that have decided to stay out. Ryan Kelly is leading the drivers that already hit pit road for the 3. Brian McCann is also pitted. Nick Crawford, Ken Campbell, all drivers from 14th on back have entered pit road as blinking issues for the 77 of Brian Noel. Noel in 11th place, just trying to survive. But this is the kind of chaotic motion of, because there's 2 major different strategies being thrown out here with this green flag run, is that we're going to have drivers on running a lot faster than those that have yet to pit. It is a 50-lap difference of tires, and we're already seeing the major difference of those that are just cruising on by, those that did not come into pit road.
This kind of looks like Bristol and NASCAR last week, with the tires being so important. You're just able to have so much more speed. Dramatic how fast they could be out there on these new tires, but eventually those tires are going to wear out, and these guys that have not pitted, they're going to have their tires and they're going to have their chance to get out there and get around all these guys. It's going to be really interesting to see what strategy does play out, but Larry Yingling right now, he's choosing to stay out, going to go to lap 75 and try to make this a 1-stop race. And John Forbes is going to be right behind him, trying to get around him and maybe take the eventual lead.
John Forbes making it work on the outside as the lights click on, the drama ramps up. More drivers actually have entered pit road, surprisingly, that are pitting now. That's Ollie Fonseca, Brad Delph, and also going to be Joshua Corner deciding to come into pit road. Kind of odd to see them pit this far after their window when we see other drivers aim for the 2-stop strategy, but hey, sometimes you just want that little bit of extra wiggle room to work with if you'd like to just go a little bit harder on this run or maybe the next to gain some quick speed. But right now it's still Larry Yingling up front, Zach Hall ahead of Brian P. Johnson for that 4th place position. I mean, I gotta say, Justin, that damage Zach collected after the contact between himself and Benjamin Nelson, it looks like it's hurting that 32 because he is really missing the mark, being at least a 10th, if not 2 tenths slower than our top runners right now.
Yeah, there was a point in time where he was running down the leaders about a half a tenth a lap. He was The furthest he was back was 4.5 seconds, and he got it down at about 2.5, 2.6. But now, Sam, look at that. It's back up to 4.4. But not only that, but Brian Johnson's catching him now. He's trying to get underneath him. Zach passed his driver about 20 laps ago, so I think the damage definitely hurting him, throwing off the balance of the car. Unfortunate. Not sure if he's going to be able to fix it unless we get cautions, but he's going to have to hang in there and try and get a top 10 out of this and carry over to next week.
And also, you brought up the big important information of if you go into pit road, you're going to be at least going 1 lap down, if not 2. And all drivers that have pitted so far, they've been out there for anywhere from 11 to 8 laps since these drivers went into pit road, and they are all still 1 lap down. Ryan Kelly has yet to get himself back on the lead lap as he's just catching up to the tailpipes of Zach Hall and Brian P. Johnson. And those 2 drivers are in 4th and 5th, so if a caution flag was to come out, Ryan Kelly would be the driver to get himself the lucky dog spot, but all those other drivers, they would have to take a wave around to get back on the lead lap.
They'd have to take the wave around, and then they would not be able to pit, Sam. That would be the real big deal breaker. Taking the lucky dog, you're able to hit pit road, but the wave around, not able to do it, so not able to get those new tires, which means you could potentially start losing a lot of time on the restart on old tires. So that's definitely something that would be not what these drivers want to see. Right now, though, we're about 10 laps away from the rest of the field pitting, so these drivers will be able to breathe a sigh of relief if we're able to get through these next 10.
And battle for the lead is underway. Larry Yingling, John Forbes are up front side by side, and they've got some lap traffic that has fresh rubber behind them. Brad Delph. Delph's trying to figure out where to place this 6 machine to get by the drivers that are battling for the lead. And Larry Yingling is able to defend for another lap. And John Forbes has been able to poke a nose going on the entry of the corners, but off the exit, the 11 just can't keep the pressure on. It just seems like the 11 is strong on the outside, but he's not able to really get the runs that he's hoping for. But with having lap traffic around them, this might be the window that Forbes is looking for, and he'll go straight to the wall. Yingling will run just a groove down below. This could be the run to set up for the 11 to go for a pass, but he'll stay in line. Just wasn't able to keep himself in the throttle.
It is. Look at this view. You're seeing how great of the driving going on behind Larry Yingling. The 11's going to try and cut down below him, coming out of that corner, but not able to carry the momentum. He's going to pull right in behind him. But look at this, getting so close to him. He's going to shoot back to the outside. Great view here. The 11's going to go up way high, trying to carry the momentum coming out of this corner, but not able to do it, Sam. Just track is just lacking so much grip. These drivers can't power up like they want. You can see all the marbles in that photo getting up there, slipping and sliding, but not able to power down, not able to get around them yet.
Yeah, and it looks like for John Forbes there, he was trying to go for a diamond corner there where you kind of go trying to get to the apex as high as you can in the corner, get your car straightened out as soon as possible, and then try to catch up to the driver ahead of you, giving up just a little bit of time, but hoping that you could have that extra speed off the exit of the corner, and it just giving up way too much ground that John Forbes is not able to make up, and he's actually going to hit pit road on lap 68. This is too far out. John Forbes will not be able to make it from here. Oh, what a shocking event to see from John Forbes. Extremely early pit stop, but maybe he knows something that we don't on fuel saving, but this just seems to be too far out. Anthony Gotti over the radio that he's going to be coming into pit road. These drivers will not make it to the halfway zone.
Yeah, that's very interesting. We were not thinking they would be pitting at lap 69. We thought they would at least want to get to 75 to ensure that they can make it. But Sam, maybe you mentioned maybe the speed was dropping off so much that they were able to save a couple laps. But still, that's so 81 laps to go for John Forbes. How's he going to be able to pull that off? I mean, it's going to be really close if he thinks he's able to maybe somehow manage that if he was looking at his fuel burn. But I don't know. I would love to have at least gone 3 or 4 more laps to ensure that I can make it. But wow, not expecting that. That's definitely going to add a second strategy to us. We're going to have the drivers who might be a little short, the drivers who are going to do 2 stops, and then definitely the drivers who make it to lap 74 or 75 we know are going to do 1 stop.
And Larry Yingling won't even make it to the halfway, giving off the lead to Brian P. Johnson. Zach Hall's going to be in second, Cedric Hunter in third. Nick Crawford having his battle right now of drivers that have already made their stops, and this is shocker to see, as this is battling currently for 12th place, but once this all cycles through, these drivers should be battling for an inside the top 5 battle. And Benjamin Nelson trying to get, again, recovery run for the 79. He missed pit entry the first time, ran into Zach Hall getting back onto the track. And that big issue has costed around 4 to 5 seconds for Benjamin Nelson that he's trying to recover to catch up for a chance to win here tonight. But again, Larry Yingling, who's been dominating this race, he's led the most laps so far, will not make it to the halfway zone. And now we are left with just 7 drivers yet to pit, and all of them look to be good to be making that window that we're looking for. Again, lap 75, 76, maybe even 77 is the lap that these drivers are looking for that are still out on track instead of our top 7.
We feel really confident about the top 7 from here on out, especially if they go to 77 like you just said, Sam. I think anyone from here on out in the top 7 that has not pitted is definitely going to be one stop in this race without any issues, any concern. They were able to make it this far now. There's no reason why they're not going to be able to make it the final 75. Zach Hall looked like maybe he's going to come in now this time. Yeah, no, he's going to keep going another lap, so he's going to ensure getting to 75. It will definitely be good to go. But look at that, John Forbes right behind him.
John Forbes right behind, trying to unlap himself and become the next driver on the lead lap. As now we'll move over to Larry Yingling, who's going to be one of the last drivers to unlap himself. Cedric Hunter, Brian Noel enter pit road. Brian P. Johnson entering into his stop. Zach Hull, his teammate, the Carolina Reaper teammates, going to be entering into their stop. As well as right behind him, it's going to be Bryson Hicksonbaugh. And Hicksonbaugh gained so much time on that pit entry, a perfect pit stop for the 63. They got to make sure they don't run into one another here as they turn into their pit box for themselves. But staying out for an extra lap, it's going to be Cameron Sartin and Douglas Newbigging. They are 100% going to be good for the 7 and the 99.
Definitely going to be good on those drivers. This is going to be a really neat strategy to try and piece together for these final 74 laps. 3 different strategies we had. We thought we were maybe only going to have 1, turned into then 2 when those drivers started pitting at lap 50, and then we got another bonus one around 60, 65, 68 when other guys started coming in that middle of those 2 stops. So it's going to be really great to see how this all plays out for all these guys, see what they have in store, what they think they're going to do with their fuel burn and tire conservations. But right now, these drivers are exiting pit road 32, 63, and Brian P. Johnson, I think, beat them all out.
Brian B. Johnson able to get the perfect launch and pit stop, an extra second longer in pit road for Zach Hull and Bryson Hicksonbaugh. Now into pit road is going to be Cameron Sartin, Douglas Newbigging. We talked about him trying to play spoiler, still out on track. And for Douglas Newbigging, everyone else gridded up, took a pace lap around, took 2 pace laps around. Before we even took the green. The 7 started in pit road, and I think that advantage allowed him to get to this point, able to pit on lap 78, going to 79.
He went the furthest of all drivers. He was probably hoping for a caution so he can go in and pit as the leader, because chances are everyone else would pit, even with a couple laps on their tires, knowing they have those extra sets and how much the tire wear fell off. But it just did not work out for Douglas Newbigging. But definitely, he gave it his all. He was hoping for some luck there. But the battle up front, Ryan Kelly, Brian McCann, they're going to be our 2 leaders right now. But look who's in 3rd position. Ken Campbell, under 2 seconds. We've been talking about him. Definitely a driver that has some long run speed, moving closer and closer to the front as this race goes on.
Absolute incredible race that we are seeing here tonight as we are officially into the second half of tonight's venue. And no, the racing action up front's close and hot and heavy, but for us on the booth, we got to step away and take a quick commercial break as they continue to race back and forth. Ryan Kelly, Brian McCann, Ken Campbell, Nick Crawford, and Benjamin Nelson going to be your top 5 as we go side by side. When we come back, going to be more racing action here in Iowa for the round of 11, race 1, as we take our quick break here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
Hey, this is Benjamin Nelson, your Season 7 WSSR Cup champion. I'd like to give a thanks to Roasted Jim's Coffee, Trophy Smack, all the admins at WSSR, Snowy Desert Racing, everybody that tunes in to the Freaky Fast broadcast every week, including my family and friends, co-workers as well. And I am so honored to be able to hoist this beautiful trophy. I've never been more proud to be a champion.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, your Wednesday night coverage of playoff racing action. The start of the round of 11, race 1 of 2 here in Iowa for the Iowa 150. And John Forbes pitted in between the two strategies that we've been talking about of turning this race into a 1-stop or a 2-stop in the 11. With that in-between pit stop now allows him to move up into the top position with fresh tires, over 20 lap fresher tires, and John Forbes is just going to pull away with that advantage, a massive one for himself. But there are so many different calls of who could be having the win. Is it the 1-stop? Is it the in-betweeners? Or will it be someone that aimed for the 1-stop here this evening? A lot of different strategies, and it's been a fun one for us to watch. We're about to be seeing the drivers that are aiming for the 2-stop to hit pit road here in the next 6 to around 12 laps. And one of those that we're going to be watching out for is going to be Ryan Kelly, Brad McCann, and Larry Yingling in that questionable spot for the 67, who dominated the first 70 laps of this race. But Justin, it's honestly wide open. There is no clear-cut picture with coming up to 55 laps to go on who's the winner or who's going to be the loser.
Definitely not a clear-cut picture at all. I can't figure it out. I'm trying to run math in my head, but I don't know. Larry Yingling pitted at lap 68. He gave up the lead at the time. I don't know if he's going to be able to make it. And then John Forbes pitted the one lap before him, who's our leader right now. I can't see him making it if Larry Yingling doesn't. But one thing that you do notice, Sam, John Forbes, he pulled away from Larry Yingling a lot, and they pitted together. I know it was one lap different, but maybe Larry Yingling's coasted into the corner a little bit more. Maybe John Forbes felt like he wasn't going to make it regardless of what he did, so he decided to pit and get those tires now and get the lead. But Larry Yingling, he's 1.5 seconds back. Maybe he's just trying to conserve that little bit extra. He's got that one extra lap going in a lap later than John Forbes, but still, I can't see them making it that far. They would have to go 80 laps on fuel. We thought maybe 73 to 74 was the max.
And now we're starting to see even more drivers coming to pit road. Nick Crawford has just entered pit road. The lap prior was Brian McCann, Shane Tarian making their stops. Joshua Corner has just made his stop, being 5 laps down, and drivers are making the call from here until around lap 105. We're going to be seeing drivers coming into pit road, getting their service done. And for John Forbes, as well as Larry Yingling, they're in that interesting spot because we have a feeling that they're not going to be able to have enough fuel to make it to the end of this race. They've got that window where they've got the decision, hey, do we want to pit now or a little bit later? So we have the options of just not giving up as much time to the other drivers that went with the 2-stop strategy.
It's going to be really interesting on how this all works out. Like you mentioned, so if the 3-car does pit here at lap 100 like we're expecting him, John Forbes was able to get by Ryan Kelly, who would most likely be the leader on that 2-stop strategy with the fresh tires. But it took him right until about lap 96, 97. So if that works out again, it would be about lap 147 that potentially John Forbes would be getting around him if they went on that strategy. This is going to be so fun to watch. I mean, everyone's gotten so close on their strategies, but I can't wait to see how this is all going to play out.
As your current top 5, John Forbes, Larry Yingling, Ryan Kelly, Anthony Gaudio, and Ken Campbell. As into pit road, actually going to be Ken Campbell into pit road for himself, as well as seeing Benjamin Nelson, Christopher Norris making some pit stops. So the shuffling happens here, as just popped up the graphic at the wrong time, but these drivers getting on top of one another. You're seeing the 8, Brian McCann, fresh tires, trying to go 3 wide. Didn't find the opening he was hoping for. Will dive to the inside lane. Now going to be setting up to get by Cody Reed and Brian P. Johnson. And fresh tires, they allow you to make these heroic moves of trying to force it 3 wide.
Brian McCann, a superhero out there on the fresh tires, just flying around the 28 and the 52. All that grip, able to power down, come out of the corner, no problem. Gonna fly around those drivers, giving no problems getting around them, carrying all that speed. He's gonna try and get to the lead. When this all cycles through, maybe he'll be the one that goes to victory lane tonight. But right now, John Forbes has a huge 7-second lead over second place Anthony Gaudio. But all different strategies for these drivers. What is gonna happen here? Under 50 laps to go now, Sam.
Under 50 laps to go, and for that 8 machine, he just passed the drivers that he's most likely going to have to pass again, being Brian P. Johnson, who stretched out the fuel to that around the halfway zone. So for that 8 machine, he's got to go around the track one more time again to catch up to that 28 machine. We already know John Forbes, Anthony Gaudio are top 2 drivers. They will not be able to make it to the end of this race. They pitted too soon to make it to the end. Brian P. Johnson looks to be good on fuel. Then as well, the 5th place runner, Bryson Hicksonbaugh and Zach Hall in 6th place. Those are the 3 drivers we feel the most comfortable can make it to the end. The rest of the field, they're trying to run down and chase those drivers currently.
You mentioned Bryson Hicksonbaugh. We have to talk about him. Early in this broadcast, we mentioned how far back he wasn't what we were expecting out of that machine. But then we saw him hit pit road, and we saw all that time he gained. He really hit pit road and figured out something. It was really impressive how much time he gained. And now he might be the driver sitting in the catbird on that strategy of the 1 stops.
Trying to catch up to Brian P. Johnson currently. That gap between those drivers, 2.3 seconds at the moment. As we're seeing drivers that are on the 2-stop strategy able to blast their way on by. Still needing to hit pit road, as Ollie Fonseca is going to be exiting pit road here shortly. It's going to be the likes of Brad Delphin, 8th place, still needs to come into pit road and get service done. Brian Noel going to be another driver to watch out for. John Forbes, Anthony Gaudio, those are going to be main drivers to circle and watch out when they need to hit pit road. Or is there a big enough gap to where John Forbes, Anthony Gaudio somehow have found a way to save over 80 laps of fuel because they pitted so early. It was going to be about 80 to 83 laps they were going to have to save to make it to the end of this race, and that just seemed to be way too much time in lappage that you're trying to save for these drivers. But it's a short track. If you're really saving, you could save a lot more than what we're expecting.
You could definitely, if you're able to, with all these corners come up, I mean, and the track is slowed down so much, if you're able to just clutch, get in the corner, raise the brake a little bit, and get the car to rotate and turn, I mean, you really definitely can save fuel at this track. And John Forbes has hit pit road though, so he's not going to risk it anymore. He's on pit road now. He's not going to risk it. He's going to, Anthony Gaudio as well going to hit pit road. He's going to turn this lead over to Brian P. Johnson now.
And Brian P. Johnson, the first of all the drivers that were going for the one stop. Looking at everyone that has pitted so far, the gap between our leader, Brian P. Johnson, back to Brian McCann, 17.3 seconds is the difference with 40 laps to go, but it doesn't matter. We've got a caution out on track, and it takes away the one-stop strategy. Yellow flag is out, and in an instant, it throws all strategy away for the field.
Wow, that changes everything. John Forbes just hit pit road. I'm not sure if he's able to make it out. He's showing one lap down. That changes everything for him right there. But Brian P. Johnson, Bryson Hixenbaugh, Zach Hall, those three drivers are going to be in the top 3. Cedric Hunter in the top 4. Cameron Sartin, it's all going to work out for those drivers. They're going to be able to go in and get fresh rubber and only have 40 laps, less than 40 laps to go, Sam.
James Kaufman, Brad Delph make contact, as well as Joshua Corner, and it looks to be the 7 and Douglas Newbigging making contact with one another. And it was on the entry of turn 1. Watching here, the 25 is going to go into the corner. The 6 backs off dramatically and make contact there. Brad Delph's going to run into the 25. It's Corner that gives the massive collision, but they were just sideways enough that contact's going to get those drivers. Getting a yellow flag that changes this whole dynamic of where drivers are going to be placed, and just a hard collision there by the 22 of Corner.
Wow, massive damage there, but it changes everything like you mentioned. It shuffles up this running order. It really is going to have big playoff implications too. I mean, wow. I mean, it looks like Ryan Kelly and Larry Yingling, those two drivers, John Forbes, now they're recycling. I guess maybe they didn't get a lap down. They were on pit road when the caution came out. We're going to have to cycle through this here and figure it all out, but they're going to actually have fresh tires. That's what I'm thinking, Sam.
Currently, right now, Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling going to be the front runners at this moment. They are on, for Ryan Kelly, 10-lap old tires. Larry Yingling is on 9-lap old tires. John Forbes just entered pit road at the time of the yellow. He will be good. Christopher Norris is going to be entering pit road to get service done. He was on 11-lap old tires, didn't want to stay out. And so our top 3 going to be on slightly older tires, but it's really our front 2 on the oldest tires. Here's what our race report looks like so far. We just had our first caution of the day, coming up to 40 laps to go. Now going to be less than 40, and the drama mounts up. And with our first caution coming out this late, you got a feeling with it being a short track, cautions breed cautions. The initial start of this race, everyone was on top of one another, and it's going to be even worse knowing there's not enough time that you can just wait and be patient. You have to be aggressive.
With under 40 to go, these drivers are definitely going to be aggressive. It could be where we see multiple cautions come out over the final 40 laps. But Sam, they got those tires, so guys will definitely be hitting pit road. If we get cautions every 5-10 laps, they're going to be wanting that rubber, trying to get any positions they can. But will Zach Hall go in and get that damage fixed too under these cautions and maybe give up track position? I can't see him doing that, especially running up in 6th position. But if we do get a couple cautions, it might be something that he thinks about.
It looks like he's spending at least a second in pit road to get some damage to repair. Joshua Corner has decided to call it a night for the 22. Drivers that are going to be taking the wave around: Anthony Gaudio, the 52 of Cody Reed, Ollie Fonseca, Christopher Wade, as well as Chris Stitz is going to be going to the end of the line, so not going to get the wave around for the 17. And James Kaufman will also be aiming for the wave around. Your top 5 currently, it's Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling. They're going to be on slightly older tires than the rest of the field. John Forbes going to be in 3rd, Brian P. Johnson in 4th. In 5th, we find Bryson Hixenbaugh getting ready for this restart. It's going to be critical for these drivers to get a good launch, but I mean, the two drivers that we know were the favorites, Larry Yingling and also Benjamin Nelson. Nelson's back in 16th, Yingling's up in second, but Yingling's on the back foot, being on those older tires.
Definitely don't want to be on older tires. I'm really surprised. I guess they really had no option, though, maybe trying to get back that track position. But Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling going to be restarting this race.
As the drivers, those that are getting the wave around, get to pull away. Some going to be able to line up where they want to be. And if you'd like to get your moment captured, like some of these drivers, maybe we're hoping for that yellow, go to trophysmack.com and check out one of the best ways to show off an amazing picture or moment that you want to cherish. That's with your wall smack. Wall smack is a metal wall plate that you get to select with your own photo to place on. What's great about your wall smack is you can place it on the wall, or you can get yourself a stand to place it on your desk or on a shelf. Wall smack is an incredible piece of art that we have some of the drivers have gotten some of their favorite wins immortalized with a wall smack, or you could get your own logo, plenty of other things. And when purchasing your wall smack, remember to use the promo code WSSR Smack for 10% off, as well as any other purchases at Trophy Smack. Green flag is out, and we are back to green flag racing. Ryan Kelly gets the jump. Larry Yingling's going to be trapped back in second, but will he fall even further than that as the field gets back to racing off of 2?
Ryan Kelly got the jump. Not sure if everyone else realized they were going green away. Ryan Kelly just decided to floor it and go. Got the massive jump, but will he be able to hold off the 11 who's got those tires and is already under the 67 here? He's got to hold off the rest of the field too with new tires coming. But what will Ryan Kelly be able to do over these final 3 laps? Does he have another accident?
Benjamin Nelson caught up in this one, as well as Brad Delph. Going to be pointing in the wrong direction on the entry of turn 1. And no surprise, you got fast drivers and slower drivers, different braking zones in the back half of the field, and the caution gonna be putting us down to less than 30 laps to go for this next restart, and looks to be a pretty nasty pileup. We're gonna take a lap around, see what our last season's champion was feeling as he was trying to get through the mess of lap traffic. Again, started back in 16th position. He's got the 6 of Brad Delph, and Delph had such an early stopping zone. That's what got him thrown into, and he stops again early, way earlier than some of these other drivers are thinking about, and that is a troublesome spot for the 6 and the 79. And Brad Delph, being a little bit too cautious, gets Benjamin Nelson in trouble.
That 6 was stuck up there on the wall a little bit. That was a big, heavy incident, as you see right here up in the fence. Tremendous impact on the 6 machine. Definitely going to be some damage that he's going to need to get fixed along with the 79. But wow, another caution. We talked about it. Multiple cautions. Will they be happening over these final 40 laps? And we're going to be close to 30 when we get to this restart. These guys that took the wave around, they're definitely going to go in and get tires for sure. That's their chance to get 4 fresh tires and try and make up any track position as they can. As you get to see again on this replay, just a big incident there. The 6 up into the fence, just riding through the wall, tearing up the car. Heavy damage.
And with that, Brad Delph, Benjamin Nelson, they'll go to the end of the line and reset for this next restart and get some damage repair. Up front, though, Ryan Kelly felt comfortable. Larry Yingling able to hold on for second. I think that's a big thing for the 67. The timing of that yellow enabled Larry to keep that spot, because the way John Forbes was running, it looked like it was going to happen at any moment. The 11 machine was going to move up to second and almost take the lead. But instead, they'll reset, try another restart. Let's take a look at Christopher Norris, a driver that had to go a little bit deeper in the field, pitted a lap later than everyone else. He's trapped and mired back in 15th. Got a lot of work to do and taking a focus moment before he's got to tackle and go forward. And also, right in front of him, Ken Campbell. Talk about how well Ken Campbell was running in that first 50 laps of this race. Now he's also trapped back in 14th.
He was one of those drivers on that 2-stop strategy. Had kind of just bit him the way the caution came out. He was on his second pit stop. Other guys didn't. Unfortunately, just did not work out for him. But we know he has speed. Will he be able to get up there? That's going to be the problem, though. Can he pass all these cars over the final 30 laps?
And what you're seeing Norris just do, you don't do that in real life out in the real world. Virtually, he's having fun. But hey, Norris, we caught you texting and driving. And I know Robert, our producer for these races, he's happy to capture Norris getting caught with the texting and driving. They're under pacing, so Norris is having fun. But hey, Norris, hopefully you're enjoying your race so far. He's got a lot of work to move forward But Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, they're going to be having that restart up front. And Justin, certainly the field knows that this is crucial timing. We're going to have less than 30 laps to go when we go green again. We're expecting probably another caution or so because of the major dives we're going to be seeing from each driver out there.
Definitely potentially another caution. That would then start making us think, what will these drivers up front do? I can't see anyone giving up track position. But if we go 15 or 20 laps, would anyone risk giving up that track position? It would be so hard to do though, Sam. Imagine being Ryan Kelly, Larry Yingling, John Forbes, giving up track position, giving up the first position to maybe fall back into 5th or 6th if other guys stay out. Not sure what we would do in that scenario, but we'll see what happens because these laps are going to tick away and we're going to find out really shortly.
Waiting for the 1 to go indicator. That's when the pace car lights go off. And right now, Ryan Kelly going to be the lead driver again, dealing with slightly older tires than what the rest of the field's doing. John Forbes perfectly timed with his yellow flag coming out, and he was able to get into pit road, keep track position, and be up front for this restart. But Bryson Hicksonball, also seeing Brian Johnson in 4th. Those drivers really have got a curious idea. How are they going to run on this restart? Also, the rest of the field, every position matters so much. Our biggest mover of the night, give that to Brian Noel in the 77 in 9th place, up 11 spots. He's open for more positions to be grabbed. Become our biggest mover of the evening. The drivers hoping for some great recovery runs. Zach Hall still dealing with that damage on the front right for himself. But here we go. Justin, this restart, this could be a crucial one of who can gain the most positions from where they're at right now.
And gain the most points, like you mentioned. Every point matters. It really does. We're not just saying that. We talked about at the top of the line, 3-way tiebreaker. All the points matter, all the positions matter. You got to get everything you can, especially in this first race, Sam. You want to go into next week having a little bit of breathing room. But they're getting ready to go back to restarting here, so I'm expecting these drivers to be fanned out. Middle lane, top lane, bottom lane. It's going to be great.
Here we go. Brian Kelly takes off the cannon like he's been doing that last restart, and even this one already up to 4 car lengths ahead over 2nd place. John Forbes, Larry England will continue to fight back and forth as they go down to turn number 3. The battle for 2nd still roars on. Also, the battle for 4th is underway. Kelly, though, with those older tires, that whole entire gap he just built up is done and dusted. It's down to 2/10 now between 1st and 2nd place.
Excuse me, John Forbes not able to get around Larry Yingling. The 11 car is going to slide back into 3rd, and he's going to get actual pressure here from Bryson Hicksonbaugh down on the inside now. So the new tire's just not heated up yet, not at optimal temperature for the grip on this track. Not able to get around Larry Yingling. He's going to have to try it again into these next corners, but he's going to have to first fend off the guys behind him as they all trying to get positions around him.
Trying to set up for these passes, and Bryson Hicksonbaugh trying to make the move up to 4th, but at this current moment he's just stalling out. Every time they exit out of the corner, there's just no space for the 63 to move up and do a blocking maneuver and go for the true slide job move. Instead, Ryan Kelly working that outside wall lane, and it to perfection at this moment. I mean, Justin, we kind of talked about the fact that outside row, how much was it going to be utilized? This is the perfect defensive line for Ryan Kelly to hold off the rest of the field this moment.
The 3 machine of Ryan Kelly is loving exactly what he sees. He's got the 67 behind him on old tires, blocking the 11 on the outside, and then the 63s underneath both of them, keep preventing the 11 from getting down there and trying to get around them. So right now, Ryan Kelly's doing everything he can, trying to save tires, can manage this gap, so if he does get a battle between a 63 or 11 or 28 get behind him, at least he has a chance to fend them off on the outside. But right now he's only got 23 laps to go. It's such a long time to still fight these guys all off on those older tires, but we know he can do it if anyone else can. He definitely could.
But they're starting to slow down on the outside. They're starting to have some checkups, and that's allowing Bryson Hicksonbaugh to work this inside groove. He's just slowly, each corner, eating away at the battles. And Brian P. Johnson's recognizing that this is working for Bryson Hicksonbaugh. He's now going to be inside, side by side for the lead. The 63 took the chance. Everyone else moved high. He stays low, nose ahead to Bryson Hicksonbaugh. As they cross the line, Ryan Kelly will lead that lap, but it just looks like it's all the 63. His opportunity to take the lead is underway.
Not sure how much longer he's going to be able to hold off the 63 down there. How will these old tires perform? But they're answering the question. They're answering the match. He's able to hold the 63 on the outside still. Got to be able to get to his outside on this corner and still keep the 63 pinched down. He's able to do it, but for how long? 21 laps to go. Still able to stay on the outside. The 63 is going to cut it all the way to the bottom, though. It looks like he's going to have some room to slide up there. He's going to be able to do it in front of the 3. Now the question is, will anyone else get around the 3 and be able to battle Bryson Hixenbaugh for this win?
Bryson Hixenbaugh finally able to clear himself away from Ryan Kelly. John Forbes going to be trying to force the issue to go 3 wide. A slight wiggle for the 11. He'll slot back in line on the outside. Instead, it will be seen the 28 of Brian Johnson continuing to try to slowly work his way forward. And the inside row looks to be the only spot to make these moves, but you have to be willing to take about 8 laps to try to make these passes. And no, you're slowly moving forward. I know you would hope for these passes to be immediate, but it's a long, grueling grind to get to where Bryson Hixenbaugh is up front and trying to pull away.
That pull away is what he's trying to do, get as much space as he can, because as he's lap 6 away, the 28, if he does get around the 3 and the 67, will he have time to even get to the 63's bumper to even make a move high, low, go around him somewhere? That's going to be the biggest problem, but he can't do it until he gets around the 67 and 3. He's not able to do it. As you see the 67, Larry Yingling, power back down on the outside, going down in here to turn 1 with under 20 laps to go now.
Zach Hall needs to see the 28 start moving forward. Cedric Hunter also recognizing the outside lane really isn't moving anywhere, but willing to wait and be patient to see which lane has the better move. Ryan Kelly goes up to the outside wall, trying to utilize any type of magic to find some extra speed to hold off the rest of the field. Again, the 3 and the 67 on 9-lap older tires than the rest of the field, and they are feeling that pain at the moment, but they're able to defend for this current time as each lap ticks away. This is perfect for Bryson Hixenbaugh, but the patience levels start to fading quickly. John Forbes in the 11 on the outside. He's been trapped there since the restart, and he just cannot get going forward.
He really can't get going. He's been stuck behind these guys on the outside, and you got to start wondering how long before contact starts getting made as these drivers now get closer and closer together. The drivers on older tires kind of holding up the inside line a little bit as they struggle to get around them even with fresher tires. Is this going to lead to a potential caution or a late race restart as these guys are all so close to one another right now? But up front, Bryson Hixenbaugh, he just keeps continuing to check out. He looks like he might be our driver who's going to take this win tonight. He's not in the playoffs, so he's not going to... Oh, you see these drivers get so close, Sam.
So close, and finally able to find a moment to kind of split up this group is going to be Johnson. He'll split and move. Larry Yingling going back, allowing his teammate now to move to the outside. John Forbes not finding a spot. Zach Hall blocking the 11 from going down low. They're just going back and forth and being a wall. It's the Carolina Reapers team as they continue to block and defend. Forbes not able to find the spacing to go forward. 14, about to be 13 laps to go. And Brian Kelly working the outside lane, but let's go 3 wide to stack 3 wide for second, and it's going to be seeing Zach Hall stuck on the inside row. Johnson just cannot get by Kelly.
Can't get by him, and that means that Bryson Hixenbaugh just continues to power away. He's got it over 3/4 of a second now lead on these drivers. Brian P. Johnson, if he's going to try and get up there and win this race, as a caution does come out.
And that will reset them with going to be less than 10 laps to go, and trouble arises for the 77 of Brian Noel for himself here.
Oh no, he was our biggest mover too. Not going to get that award now. With this incident here, we're going to find out really shortly what happened. Looks like he's going to get into this corner and getting down there on the inside. It might be the next corner, I believe, Sam, that this incident happens.
And going to be seeing him bouncing off the wall, going off the exit of turn 4, gets into the wall again on the entry of the corner, and then just loops it around in the center. We have not seen that type of a wreck, and just completely looped it around right in front of James Kaufman, and that will bring out a late yellow here for the 77.
He definitely was having some issues there. Started even on the front straightaway, like you mentioned, but these drivers pit stops. Ryan Kelly's coming in. Looks like Zach Hall's going to come in and get tires. Some guys are going to stay out. This changes everything, Sam. Will these tires prevail? I don't know.
And trying to see who will have the better advantage, how many drivers will stay out. And with Bryson Hixenbaugh, Brian P. Johnson, John Forbes, Shane Terrian, Nick Crawford, Ryan Kelly. Kelly does not actually, Kelly comes into pit road, but it's Christopher Norris and Ollie Fonseca staying out. That is 7 drivers risking that they've got enough rubber to hold off those that are coming in for the 4 tires and fuel.
Yeah, and they're going to have about 20 to 25 laps on their tires. But starting that far back, could Ryan Kelly get up there? It's going to be really close. I mean, he probably felt like he had to make that decision, get in there and get those tires. But he did have a chance to restart at the second. If he was able to maybe hold off to 63, he could have had a chance maybe to win this race. But now he's going to have to do it from the 4th row potentially here.
And some drivers taking even a bigger gamble in pit row. 2-tire call for 4 to 5 drivers. Zach Hall going to be the first driver out, taking 2. Brian McCann going to be taking 2 tires. Benjamin Nelson going to be up to a 10th place with 2 tires. And Anthony Gaudio in 12th, taking 2 tires for himself. Ryan Kelly going to be the first driver that took 4. He'll be in 11th, splitting Nelson and Gaudio. Then Larry Yingling falls all the way down to 13th position, taking 4 tires and fuel, and the rest of the field that's behind the 13th place, taking those 4 tires. Gutsy call, but hey, this is playoff racing action, Justin. If you're gonna get yourself into victory lane or get massive points, these are the strategies that you've got to go for.
Sometimes you have to take a gamble and hope that it pays off. Some of these guys did what they needed to do. They're confident. They made their decisions. They got to stick with it. They got to trust their mindset. If not, you can't ever second guess yourself, especially not when you're racing here in the playoffs. You got to be able to go in with your strategy and roll with it. But up front, the 63 to 28, they're going to be the ones re-racking here on the front row. I just don't, I'm not sure, Sam. I don't know if those guys back there in the 4th, 5th, 6th rows, if they're going to be able to get up there. It's just going to be about 8 laps to go. As you see, the pace lights are still on, so it's going to be 8 to go when we get this restart.
And with these drivers that are up front, yeah, it's front 7 deciding to stay out. They're all pretty equal on their own tires, but they're about 30 lap-old tires for some, 25 lap-old tires for others. It is going to be tough to try to hold back those that just got fresh tires because of the fact that we've seen 2, 3 different grooves being utilized. You're going to need a massive wall to hold back those that just got fresh rubber. You're going to need everyone to coordinate that's trying to make passes to get up front to battle for the lead, and as well hold back those that are behind that have that fresh rubber that are going to be flying forward.
I also think the biggest obstacle is going to be is if we go 1 lap and get another caution, then all of a sudden we're going to have about 3, maybe 4 laps to go. Just going to eat that up. If it stays green, maybe they have a chance. It's going to be really fun. I can't wait to see these pace lights. They're going to go out this time by. We're going to get the restart. As you see the 63 jump to the outside, he does not want to even give Brian P. Johnson a chance to hang on his outside.
Now, we've seen the outside lane be the better at protecting your position, but I don't even know if the outside's going to be good enough to defend those that just got fresh rubber. Yeah, and the drivers that just got tires going to be in that 4th row where we find ourselves with Ollie Fonseca and Zach Hall. Zach Hall's going to be the driver with the freshest of tires. Ollie's going to be the first driver on old tires. Everyone from row 5 on back waiting for their chance. Do you bounce to the outside, go to the inside? There's going to be some windows of opportunity, but will there be a quick yellow that changes up us going to overtime? Do we get another chance in regulation? Let's find out as the field gets set and ready to see who's winning the first race of the round of 11. This round is already showing it's going to be a fun one to watch as the Iowa 150 is back underway. A little bit of a checkup on the outside, but Bryson Hixenbaugh gets the better launch. Zach Hall trying to already move to the outside groove as the 63 is gone. Everyone else scattering high, low, anywhere you can go with the fresh rubber. It is Shane Terrian who's already going to be bouncing up to second.
Wow, Shane Terrian with a great restart up to second. Going to try and use that outside line and gain all the momentum on the 63. But coming to 7 laps, 6 laps to go now. These laps are going by quick. Will these drivers get back up there? Brian B. Johnson under attack. Also, the 11 now up to 3rd position. Zach Hall, though, on those 2 tires trying to make it through the middle groove.
Zach Hall, winner from last week, trying to make the moves through the middle. Going to be 3 wide, but Benjamin Nelson gets the better run. The 79 also on the 2-tire strategy. John Forbes going to be trying to work his way on the middle. They're going to be 3 wide, squeezing to the outside groove. Slight contact. Hall holds on, but they're almost going to be 4 wide down into turn number 1. Nelson backs off. Hall needs to make this pass cleanly and start to tackle Hixenbaugh ahead. But Benjamin Nelson going to be the hot driver that's going to be quick, fast, recovering. Those 2 already made contact. Will they make contact again between the 32 and the 79?
32.79 there. Got to be thinking, what is going to happen between those two when they get to this leader? Who's going to have the preferred lane 2 tires versus Benjamin Nelson coming versus Brian Hicksonbaugh, who's on 30-lap old tires. Under 5 to go now, 4 to go.
It's just a wave of cars, all positions, all poking their nose on where they feel the most comfortable. And will we stay green? Because for the lead, Zach Hall is already on the back bumper of Hicksonbaugh. 3 laps to go here tonight, but will they keep it together as Shane Terrian's falling backwards in the middle? It's all going to be 3, almost 4 wide, deeper in the field. But for the lead position, Zach Hall gets into the outside wall coming off of turn 2. Now it's going to be a chance for Nelson to be on the back bumper.
Hall's going to drive it down to the bottom. We're going to be coming to 2 to go. Nelson's going to stay up high. He's going to pull right underneath the 63. You see the little wiggle between both of them coming to the line. 2 to go. Going to throw it into turn 1. Able to stay to the bottom. Is he going to be able to clear him come out of the corner? Not able to do it yet. The 63 is going to hang on his outside as they power down the back straightaway.
Down the back straightaway, Hicksonbaugh keeping the nose ahead. Zach Hall, though, with the nose where he's at, able to take the lead. Nelson ripping the top, trying with the momentum. 2 laps to go. Make it now the white flag. This is it. Who's going to be winning the Iowa 150? Nelson going to be bouncing into that 3rd lane. Hall is going to run the middle. Zach Hall's got to be moving up. Defend that 79's run that he's going to be having off the exit of the corner. Benjamin Nelson throwing it down. Hall stays high. Hall's hoping for the run. Nelson with the slide jump move. It goes too far. Hall to the inside. Coming to the line. It's going to be contact, but Nelson wins. Benjamin Nelson will move on to the championship round. Hall falls to 2nd.
Wow. Our 2 drivers that made contact earlier in the race battled it off, giving us a great finish. The 32 gave it all he could, but the 79 prevails on the outside. Bryson Hicksonbaugh back in 3rd, not able to hold these guys off with these fresh tires, but what a finish. Zach Hall, he went for the block on the inside, but no, the 79 was able to go even further down into turn 3.
Zach is frustrated. Think about what if he didn't have that front end damage that he'd been dealing with all night long from when Nelson came up and hit him. Hall gave it all that he had and then said, you know what, we're wrecking you for it. Hopefully we'll come across the line. Not going to be able to do so. But Nelson takes the win. Our season 7 champ has a chance to go back to back.
Wow, what a finish. These drivers, we weren't sure if they were going to do it. Sam, you were more confident than I was. They drove to the front. They got around to 63. I really thought he was going to be able to hold them off, but no. As you see the 79 use all that fresh rubber up and just burn it down on the front straightaway, getting another win in the WSSR League.
And those that were able to take 2 tires, majority of them kept their positions. And it was a fabulous finish. For us, though, up in the booth, we will step away. When we come back, we'll talk to our top 3, Benjamin Nelson, Zach Hall, and Bryson Hicksonbaugh, right after this. as we have an incredible race to the end. New tires versus old, and it was the two that took two tires at the last caution, and it was a blast to watch. Benjamin Nelson, Zach Hall giving us the show to the end, and it's going to be the 79 of Benjamin Nelson taking the victory and locking himself into the championship round. Ben, you had a couple of scares throughout tonight's race, but victory is yours. How are you feeling after that one?
Basically mixed emotions. Like, I'm really happy about the win. Definitely did not expect that after all that happened in the race. I feel terrible about what I did earlier in the race with that pit road fiasco. That was ridiculous. I should have never even tried to do what I did there on the access road. It's just no excuses. That was stupid. It was a boneheaded move, but didn't take Zach or I out of the race, so that's better than if we junked it. But that tainted my enjoyment of it. I didn't mean to do that, but at least we had a fun, exciting battle to end the race, and it worked out for me this time. Let's keep that momentum going.
Ben, great job on the win. Congratulations. Glad it worked out, and it was just great that it was you and Zach battling for the lead at the end after, like you mentioned, the issue earlier in the race. But walk us through that final lap. When you were coming out of the corner, going down the straightaway into turn 3, were you projecting to go to the bottom regardless if Zach went to the bottom, or were you going to do opposite of what he did? Or just walk us through that final corner.
So yeah, when he cleared Bryson right in turn 3 and 4 at the white, I think I was really needing to get by Bryson, and I did. So I was happy about that, but I wasn't sure what Zach was going to choose entering 3 there. So I think you're right with I was either going to do the top or the bottom depending on what he did. So he chose the top. I think that's the safer option for him, but I don't know if I could have done it if he went to the bottom. I think he would have got me on the overall corner speed. I don't think I would have been able to make up enough on the top, but that's not how it happened. So I chose, like, I saw him go to the top, and I was like, I'm diving this thing in there so hard, and it stuck. It stuck pretty well. 2 tires felt really good. I knew that I had some short run speed for sure, so I could really lean on that right front and get it to rotate. That was really all I could do. I thought Zach had 4 actually, so I thought he was going to be a little quicker than he was, but he had 2 as well, so made us a little equal or more equal on it. But yeah, I was really just needing to clear him and gas it up, and that's exactly what happened. So, and then we touched coming across the line. That's racing for the win, you know.
He certainly was racing for the win. Ben, you were locked into the championship round. We got one more race before we get to the championship round. How are you feeling about this season compared to last season when you grabbed your championship for season 7 and knowing now you've got a chance to go back to back?
So the 2 tracks in the final round are Charlotte and Kansas, I believe, right? So
that is correct.
Yeah, Charlotte is a good track for me. It's not the best. I'd say Dover is my best track, or Darlington, one of the 2. But Charlotte's okay for me. Kansas is an iffy one. The Highline thing is not super close to my wheelhouse, so I have to do a lot of practice to figure out where exactly I can run right on that razor's edge next to the wall when we go up there, because I think it is going to be bottom, then moving up to the top throughout the run, and it's going to be tough. As we saw last season, tire wear does matter there. So even though it's a pretty smooth surface, it does eat the tires a bit. So that's going to be something I had to keep in mind. Just like here, tire strategy was a huge factor, and I lost one last week on that. So going to have to keep sharp on that. And I think I got a good shot at it, but you never know with these races. These guys are all so good. You can't let your guard down.
I mean, Ben, it was an incredible finish. Thanks for giving us a show. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours.
Okay. I'd like to give a shout out to, first and foremost, my Aunt Marilyn that's watching. She's so diligent in watching, and I cannot thank her enough. She's an incredible human being, and I'm so glad she's supporting me. All my family, my friends that are watching, even the ones that aren't watching. Everybody that that puts on this league, all the admins, they have to put forth an incredible amount of work for us, and pretty much all we do is just put on a show. We don't really contribute enough to them, I don't think, but they do it selflessly, and I appreciate that. And I'd like to give a shout out to all the competitors. We had a pretty good race. I didn't necessarily run the cleanest race of my career, but it was anytime they just don't end the race in the garage, I think it was a good race. So this was a good one for us. There weren't too many wrecked cars at the end of the race, so that's a positive, and I think that's pretty much it.
Well, that will be your winner here tonight at the Iowa 150. It will be Benjamin Nelson in the 79. Congratulations, Ben, on the win. Enjoy it, and good luck next week at Legacy, Kentucky.
Thank you.
As we move from victory lane, we go down to second place to a driver that we were hoping to cherish and have his winning interview last week. Thought maybe he could win back-to-back, but comes up second. Zach, I mean, how are you feeling? These last week, this week, these last two races, it has been an incredible run for yourself.
Yeah, definitely a good pickup for what we've had most of 2024. So, yeah, I'm happy, man. That was that one stings because could have done a lot better defense. I don't know why I thought the outside was going to be better. If he was going to let him dive right there, I should have just put it on Ben's door and made him put me in the wall, or at least slid up into him, got into him, since he gave me a good bit of damage earlier in the race with a mistake, which I understand happens. That's whatever. We'll move on from that, and just happy overall with second though, because I mean either way, I think the way it played out with the cautions there, we getting second and almost the win. I think we would have been bound for a win anyways if it would have stayed green with our strategy we were pulling off the night. So definitely pretty happy with just how it overall came out.
Zach, great job on getting back into second place. Like you said, you don't want to dwell too much on the fact that you didn't get that win just by that little bit, because you've had so much speed these last couple of races, and we know you're a driver that is always going to have speed. So congratulations on that second. But tell us about what's going to happen in these next couple of races. What track are you looking forward to most out of Kentucky, Kansas, Charlotte? Where are you looking forward to, and what can you do in these final races to make sure you get into the top six and then go battle for that championship?
Well, tonight was a good step forward. Tonight was actually the race I was worried about more than anything. I like Iowa. I usually run good here, especially on the longer runs, which I think that kind of showed. But we had short runs to end it, so luckily we came out still with a good finish to find the speed and the strategy. But going into Kentucky next week, I love that track personally. The legacy version of it, the old bumpy, worn out surface, that is personally one of my best mile and a half. So I want to go there and redeem myself. I've had a loss that stung there pretty bad a couple seasons ago here at WSSR, and hopefully we can have the same type of speed in this car that we did the next gen there. Then if we can get at least to the championship round, man, I circle kind of Charlotte as the race to really kick it off, just because I felt like I could have won that one last season, just didn't play out with the way strategy worked out, and got beat by some guys on fuel mileage. So I think that's going to be a good one. And then, of course, Kansas. Last season I ran good, got involved in an incident, so didn't really get to see what my true potential was there. But I think these next three races all being mile and a halves, it's kind of anybody's game, guys. So we'll see who makes it into that final six and who's really battling out for it.
Oh, you certainly look like one of the threats to make it into the final six. Zach, I know you didn't get a chance to kind of give any shout outs or talk about your win last week, but this is going to be your time for shout outs and if anything you want to say based off your win last week.
Well, really cool we could get the win last week, of course, with our back against the wall. Going into that night, was having a really rough stretch of races, so to get a win, I think it cleared my mindset a lot. So we went in tonight with that, never really let my emotions get the better of me, and kept my focus, and I think that really, really played well out. So if I can keep doing that next three races, we'll see what we can do, because definitely I think it's been a good overall change for my mindset. First off, I want to shout out to my amazing teammates there at Carolina Reapers, Brian Johnson and Shane Theron. Those two dudes, really cool to bounce back and forth between them throughout the races and kind of compare what's going on. And we always discuss our strategies, and we were kind of split on that last one. So that's why you see different things being played out there. But definitely shout out to them. Shout out to all the league members here who have stuck around and keep coming out and racing the rest of the season out. And we can't wait to announce some of the stuff coming for season 9, of course. Also, shout out to Roasted Gems Coffee for being an amazing title sponsor here at WSSR for now multiple seasons, and also TrophySmack.com. Make sure you head over there and check out that wall smack and use code WSSR Smack to get yourself 10% off of that wall smack, because those things are really cool. I got 2 of them on my wall and might have to add one from that Phoenix win. So we'll see about that. Also, shout out to everybody out there watching for me, especially Caitlin. Shout out to her.
Well, that will be your second place finisher, the 32 of Zach Hall. Congratulations on your second place finish, Zach, and good luck next week on trying to make the championship round.
Thanks, guys. Also, shout out to y'all.
Thanks, Zach, as that will be your second place finisher. We go down to third place. Driver that risked it all, staying out on track, will come away third. We got Bryson Hicksonbaugh with us. Bryson, you're out there trying to steal the hopes and dreams of our playoff drivers for going for a win tonight. You almost got it done. How are you feeling coming away with the third place there with the risky call of staying out?
Feeling pretty good. It's been a while since I talked to you guys. I've had not so good weeks recently. Contributed to me not making the playoffs there, and definitely went into this with the mindset of risk it all, and started at the very beginning of the race going, I'm going to give up positions and I'm going to save fuel and make it on a one stop, and looked like it was going to work out for me there for that first caution 2/3 of the way into the race. That put us in really great position, and then at the end there, I knew that no matter what I did, I was kind of in a lose-lose situation on that last pit stop. If I come in and pit, there's no guarantee that I'm the one that squirts through on fresh tires. Somebody was going to do it, but I just had to hope that they got held up enough and that I would have a big enough lead.
Hey, Bryson, it's Justin up here in the booth. Congrats on getting third. I know it was a hard battle there for you out on those old tires, but I want to walk back to the middle of the race when you made a pit stop. We talked about it up here in the booth. You gained so much time on your pit entrance on some of the cars that were in front of you. Just walk us through kind of what you were doing to prepare for that pit stop and what makes you so good on getting into these pit road. And you gained so much time that you ended up cycling into the front top of the field after that. It was just really impressive.
Yeah, I was running those guys down right before the pit stop. I was not sure if they were going to make it to 75 and really have that shot at making it on one stop, but they saved just enough fuel at the end of the run, so I was closing in on them. And I knew at this track that you got to kind of like send it real deep and then make a real sharp turn to get around that corner quick, because that the pit line is quite a bit farther back than you really expect here upon initial testing. So I knew I could send it in there deep, and I got it just about perfect. Got right up on them, and I was glad to come off pit road right behind them and try and make up some time.
Well, Bryson, we've got 3 more races left in the season. Are you planning on showing up for the rest of these 3 races? And how confident are you going to Legacy, Kentucky, Charlotte, and Kansas being our last 3 races?
I'm planning on making it to all of them. Something might pop up, like I missed a couple weeks ago. But as long as nothing does, I should be here, and hopefully I'll come out here and get another win this season.
We're open for you for that free, Bryson. And before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
Yeah, shout out to you guys for another great broadcast. I'm sure it's always great to see you guys, and glad to talk to you guys again.
Glad to talk to you as well. That will be your 63 machine of Bryson Hicksonbaugh coming away with a third place finish. Congratulations and good luck next week at Kentucky.
Thank you, guys.
As we move from third place, we go to our spotlight driver. Going to be 5th place finisher of Ken Campbell. Had a great run for the first 50 laps of this race. Then it was a recovery run to get back up there. Ken, it's Sam and Justin up in the booth. Congratulations on a 5th place finish. How are you feeling after your roller coaster of a run here tonight at Iowa?
Feel it pretty well. Or pretty good. Yeah, like you said, I was running up front, and I was liking the way the car was driving and the strat, and I knew what the guys were doing, and I felt like it was going to pay off, and just keep running my race. And then I have a tendency to stay out too long, and it never works out. So I was like, all right, the strat is to go in now, and so that's when I went in. And then I'm always uneasy, just waiting on that caution to kind of screw me for pitting, and that's exactly what happened tonight. I mean, I wasn't a lap down or anything like that, so I was luckily on the lead lap. But yeah, then it was time to pull the belts tight and go to work. But luckily we were able to make some of the right moves and get back up there.
Again, Justin up here in the booth. Congrats on getting back in the 5th. You were a driver we talked about that you had a really great long run speed. Like you mentioned, maybe you're staying out longer than normally. Looked like tonight when you were out there on those old tires, you were one of the fastest drivers. But is that going to carry over into any of these races coming up in the next three? Kentucky, Kansas, Charlotte, any of those tracks that you think that you're really going to be able to maybe show that long speed that you have so often throughout this league?
Well, I sure hope so. um, these tracks, especially I think Legacy Kentucky, with it being an older surface, it really punishes overdriving, and it's taken pretty much all season for me to kind of get it. But if you punish the tires, it takes a very long time for them to come back, and so just throughout the season, it's taken me time to kind of learn where my limit is for the tires to drive, and so yeah, I think if we can find that. And well, as a matter of fact, one of the times I pit a couple laps earlier than I meant to because I'd lit the tires up trying to get by somebody, and I was like, well, these are done; they're not going to come back. And so I think for all of them, it's just going to be keeping the tires under you, making sure you minimize the mistakes, and capitalize on others. If you see them get loose, that's when you've got to push because you've got a 2 to 3 lap window where you're going to definitely have an advantage there. And so yeah, I just need to put myself in the right spots and execute when it's time.
Well, again, looking at how these points should line up, should be inside of our top 6 going into next week. What is the confidence level that you're going to be able to make it to the championship round?
What's going to be is going to be. I got taken out last year and felt, a lot better about it. And then this year I didn't feel that great about it, and I seem to be in a good spot. And so I think just kind of balancing everything out with expectations. And tonight I definitely didn't have winning speed. And so I think I backed myself off to not try to win. And so when we get to the next races, I think that's going to be key for me is figure out where my speed is at that given track and just try to drive to the limit of that. And so hopefully, like it is tonight, my speed will be, good enough to get me in the top 6, and then maybe we can do something from there. But yeah, that's what I'm looking to do.
Well, we're hoping for the best for you, Ken, moving into next week. But before we let you go, the floor is now yours for any shout-outs.
As always, first and foremost, thanks to my wife, Casey, my kids, Logan, Jet, and Easton. They support me at everything that I do, sim racing included. My mom, sister, and nephew, they always tune in and have a great time watching the broadcast and cheer me on. My teammates at Storm Motorsports, Stitz and Wade, love racing with them. There was a Wade on track tonight. He hadn't been showing up. He's been having some PC issues this season, but glad to have him back on track. It's always a better race with a Wade in it. Everybody, all the drivers and admins here at WSSR, it's really hard racing and really fun. You get to push yourself to the limit. Everybody at Team Watson Racing Setups for their support. If you'd like to race open setup stuff instead, go check them out. Use code WATSPIN39 for 10% off. And you guys up in the booth.
Well, thank you very much, Ken, and good luck next week on trying to make that championship round.
Thank you.
Well, from our interviews, we get ourselves to take a look at our unofficial results, as this race certainly had its drama at times. Lap 50 contact between Benjamin Nelson and Zach Hall, it perfectly encapsulated coming to the very end with those two drivers battling on the white flag on who is going to win and lock their ticket into the next round and battle for a championship. The win goes to Benjamin Nelson and the 79. Zach Hall, though, is going to have a good points gap going into next week as he finishes second. Bryson Hixenbaugh finishing third. Fourth goes to Anthony Gaudio. Ken Campbell finishing fifth. Douglas Newbegin sixth. Seventh, we find Ryan Kelly. Brian McCann eighth. Ninth is Sean Forbes. Cedric Hunter will finish out our top 10, but shockingly, the drivers just outside of the top 10 here, Justin, were drivers that were threatening to be top 10 finishers.
Especially looking at 13th place, Brian P. Johnson, a driver who at one point we thought might get up there and challenge Bryson Hixenbaugh for the win. No, unfortunately, 13th. But Nick Crawford, you mentioned him needing a good points night, not really getting the points he needed, being in 16th. And looking down at Cody Reed, he was a driver in 11th in points, not getting the night he needs. These drivers are definitely going to need to go max points next week, Sam, to be able to get into that top 6.
Max points, it might be a must-win for Cody Reed and Christopher Norris going into Legacy, Kentucky next week, and it's going to be tough. They had some great runs in the middle of this field, but the timing of the yellows being caught up in wrecks, it just didn't match up well for some of these drivers, but And what a finish we got to see from Nelson and Hall coming off of turn number 4. And if you want to see more great racing action, well, here's what our upcoming schedule is been for these last couple of weeks. Tomorrow night, we finish out the week for the Doghouse Cup Series, as they're going to be heading to Auto Club to finish out this great run that they've been having for the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Monday night, we're going to be having off for the ISRC Truck Series next week, but we will be back in 2 weeks for that series. If you want to see more racing, though, after Thursday night will be Tuesday for the BRB Butt Kicker Series, and then right back here next week. WSSR, when one round begins, it ends just as quickly as the round of 11 next week. We will see who the 6 drivers will be to race for the Season 8 Championship. One driver's already booked that ticket. That's the 79 of Benjamin Nelson. What a run. Well, Justin, any final thoughts before we call it a night?
Well, I think the biggest final thought I have is if you really enjoyed a slippery track tonight at Iowa, multiple grooves, I think you're going to really enjoy Legacy, Kentucky. It might not have the multiple grooves, but it's definitely going to have that slick, worn surface where these drivers will be able to maneuver around one another and put on a great show. Will we get the great finish that we had tonight? We're going to have to find out next week.
Next week's gonna be a blast to watch, but for tonight, thank you for joining with us. For myself, Sam Dyer, for Justin Malarkey and Robert Moyer Jr. and everyone else from Freaky Fast Broadcasting, thank you for joining with us. We'll see you next week. More racing coverage for the WSSR. Who will be the 6 drivers that will race it out for the Season 8 Championship? You'll have to find out next week, but if you can't wait until then, we'll see you tomorrow night, Thursday, the Shoney's Doghouse Cup Series. Those next-gen open setups have been giving us some of the best racing action throughout the week, and they might do it again as they head to Auto Club tomorrow night. Gonna be a good one. That's our next Freaky Fast broadcast.